So Eddie, have you spoken yet to Bob Arum, Fury's US promoter?
Yeah, I had a good chat with him last night. You don't get a chance to say much, to be honest with you, but it was good, it was positive. I think we're all in the same position. We want to move forward with the fight quickly as well, which is good news for fans. Bob was very vocal before the Pulev fight, saying that Pulev was going to destroy Joshua, and he was quick to say after that he wasn't very impressed with Anthony's performance, which was interesting. We had a joke about that, but really now in the stage of just trying to solve any remaining issues of the fight, of which there aren't many, to be honest with you, and trying to move forward collectively to let the governing bodies know that we plan to stage this fight probably in May, and we would like this to be for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. So a few small issues to iron out, but I think we can start looking at drawing up contracts and trying to get this moving.
That's great news for boxing fans. It sounds like you're pretty confident.
Yeah, very, because sometimes when you're trying to put a big fight together, a fighter might not fancy it, or a promoter might not fancy it, or a trainer might not fancy it. Here, on both sides, every member of each team wants to do this fight. We all acknowledge this is the biggest fight in boxing, this is the best fight for both guys, this is for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Why are you in the sport if you don't want this fight? We believe, Team Joshua, we win this fight. They believe they win this fight. So let's find out. That's what sport's all about.
Fury's questioned AJ's desire to take this fight next. What's AJ said to you?
I just think they're two different people, aren't they? I mean, Tyson Fury was invited to the fight to come down and watch. He chose to watch it from his sofa and put something out straight after with his, furry, whatever it was, Christmas jumper on. And he's not AJ. AJ's not going to stand up there, dress up as Batman in press conferences and call him a big dosser. It's just not what he does. So for AJ, we learned from the Deontay Wilder negotiations, we're not going to get too excited until the ink is dry. Part of AJ probably believes maybe Tyson Fury won't take this fight. We've been here before when chasing the undisputed championship. I've told him, I've backed my judgment, which is I believe they do want this fight and we will get this made. But you're not going to see him jumping up and down, screaming and shouting on social media. From the day he turned professional, he had a dream to be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. He's one fight away from that becoming a reality. So this has always been the absolute pinnacle of what he's wanted to achieve. So he wants this fight more than anything. You're just not going to see him screaming and shouting on social media. His instruction to me is make the fight, let's get it done. And that's what I'll be doing.
You mentioned May. Any idea where it might take place?
No, that'll be the next move. So, our plan after speaking to Bob Arum last night is to get the deal in place and then go out to the relevant sites. Obviously, we all would like this fight to take place in the UK. You've seen London go into Tier 3 now again, so we got a crowd in on Saturday. That's been taken away for the time being. There's a lot of unknowns in that respect. Of course, there are many countries around the world that want to stage this fight. It's not only the biggest fight in boxing, it's one of the biggest sporting events in the world available. So we'll talk to everyone, then we'll present it to the fighters and their teams. Ultimately, they will have to agree, and then we move forward. But certainly one of the two, and we expect a 2-fight deal here, should take place in the UK. It's just a case of, is that possible in May? And where could we stage an event of this magnitude in that period?
Yeah, so fans in the stadium or the arena is going to be key.
Yeah, if the fight is to take place in the UK, both fighters are going to have to take a significant reduction in purse for this fight to take place in the UK, unfortunately. Probably half. And if there's no crowd, then maybe 80%. So really, to give us any chance, we need full capacity in the UK. So we want to make sure this fight goes ahead. For both fighters, both camps have a responsibility to maximise the revenue for them in this fight. This is the pinnacle of their career. This is the biggest moment of their career. And nothing will ever be bigger than this for both guys, ever. So it's our job in a sport as dangerous as this to make sure both fighters are respected, the revenue is maximised, but at the same time, we all recognise this is two Brits fighting for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, and if there's a way to do it in the UK, fantastic.
Fury's currently in dispute with Deontay Wilder. Do you envisage that getting in the way?
Well, we hope not. That's probably the only one thing that could really stop this fight. If you listen to Bob, that's not a problem. We don't always listen to Bob, but he's a lawyer and he knows his contracts, and he tells us that Tyson Fury is contractually free to take any fight he wants. I do believe Deontay Wilder is appealing that in the US courts, but we don't expect that to be a problem. If it is, Now, ultimately, the big issue for Anthony Joshua is he has a WBO mandatory now. Now, we will be writing to the WBO to say, you have an opportunity to be part of the biggest fight in boxing, one of the biggest fights in boxing history. Alexander Usyk is the WBO mandatory. We have to respect that and the rules as well. We'll be speaking to him to make sure he's happy with a potential resolution. But if for any reason Tyson Fury can't contractually fight Anthony Joshua, AJ will fight Alexander Usyk next. But for us, Usyk's a great fighter, it's a great fight. There's only one name that we're focusing on, that's Tyson Fury.
You think Usyk and the WBO will be okay with that?
I think if I'm Alexander Usyk, I'm trying to leverage my position to get the best deal I can. And we'll make sure that we come up with a great solution for him. Ultimately, this is where boxing needs to learn. Okay, this fight should be for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. With COVID, with restrictions, with the world changing, boxing needs this fight. And if the governing bodies and the organisations don't want to be part of this fight, then boxing has a major problem. And by the way, if there are no belts on the line, this fight is still the same kind of fight. But both fighters want the belts on the line, especially AJ. It's always been a dream to hold all belts. But we won't lose the fight if we have to lose a belt. So hopefully everyone's sensible. This is a time for common sense to make sure this sport can move forward. We don't want people being disruptive to stop the progression of a fight like this.
And you mentioned there could be more than one fight as part of the deal. How many do you think there might be?
Well, I think it will be a 2-fight deal. I think we'll do one in May and one in November, December, something like that. Obviously, both guys got to agree on that. That's always been the plan. And in the world we live in today, it's nice for a fighter to say, that's my 2021. Tyson Fury wasn't able to box in December. AJ only boxed once in 2020 and was out for a year before the Pulev fight. So it would be great for both fighters to say, that's my year mapped out and planned out, the two biggest fights I could possibly get.